Hey, it's Chris Morrell from the PlayStation blog. I'm here on the E3 show floor with Paul Crocker, lead narrative designer for Batman Arkham Asylum. Obviously, I know a lot of you are very excited about the game. You want to know about the Play as the Joker stuff. We'll get to that in a second. But first, Paul, why don't you give us a little background? Where are we going to see Batman in this title?
Yeah, well, based on what the title is, Batman is going to Arkham Asylum, which is the Gotham City's home for the criminally insane. Batman's returning Joker back to the asylum. Unfortunately, Joker escapes, the Madman takes over the asylum, and then Batman has the worst night of his life trying to bring Joker back to justice.
All right, and give us some background about the fighting in this game. I know you just might have heard a little bit about it, but what can you do as Batman specifically?
Well, one of the main goals of the game in general is to really feel like you are Batman. We want players to be Batman, and to do that we developed the free flow combat system, which really makes it intuitive and easy for Batman to take on multiple bad guys. Batman's not scared of a few thugs. We want people to jump in and be able to take them out, but it's a deep system that also enables you to kind of string together moves, almost create your own custom combos, and just again have a great time feeling like Batman.
Right, and obviously this is a Batman game. We know Batman's going to have some gadgets at his disposal. What does he have?
Well, we start off, you've got the Batman's grapnel gun, you've got batarangs. I mean, one of the things we've really tried to do is make sure that Batman never feels weak. You don't want this kind of, oh, you've played 20 minutes in the game before you get a batarang, or, you see things but you can't get to them because, you can't do something you expect Batman to be able to do. So straight off the bat, you are Batman. You've got all these cool gadgets, got great navigational skills, etc. And then we expand upon that over the course of the game. We allow players to unlock and upgrade different bits of equipment, but the only problem is we don't want to talk about them because they tie kind of into story elements that we really want to surprise players with. We don't want them to ruin the experience because the game's really twisty and turny, and it's cool.
Tell us a little bit about the challenge modes and how those work.
Well, the challenge modes are individual maps that really allow players to prove their abilities as Batman. So whereas in the course of the game, you'll be playing as Batman, you'll find there'll be thugs in a room or invisible predator challenges. In the challenge maps, it's focused around that, and it's like how good are you as Batman? Can you take on 12 thugs, and how stylishly can you take those guys out? And then obviously that ties into the exclusive PlayStation 3 content where we allow you to play as Joker.
Right, so Play as the Joker only on PS3. This is from day one, correct?
Absolutely, with eight maps, and we were on stress. This isn't just we stuck a Joker skin on Batman. We've really created a great Joker character who has his own moveset. He has his own takedowns, his own combat animations, his own gadgets. It's incredibly fun and cool. I've just been watching people laughing playing as Joker, and it's just great.
And I've seen it, played it a little bit. The character model is fantastic of the Joker. I've seen some exploding teeth and other gadgets.
Yep, there are. Joker's got a gun. Joker, the teeth, the X-ray glasses. Joker kind of has things you expect Joker to have. Batman plays by the rules. He's the good guy. He doesn't hurt people unless he has to. Joker doesn't care. Right. Joker's going to go in there, leap on some guy's back, smack their head around a bit, maybe pull out a gun. It's all cool.
Well, Paul, thank you so much. The Joker, available only on PS3. We're very excited about Batman Arkham Asylum. And when can we get it?
It's out on August 25th in North America, August 28th in Europe.
The Joker has been apprehended. Batman is now en route to Arkham Island.
Hey everybody, it's Ricardo, and I am standing here with Paul Crocker from Rocksteady Games, and you've just shown off some new bits of Batman Arkham Asylum. Talk to us about what you guys have shown off today.
We really focused on showing you the core pillars of the game. We showed you the Invisible Predator gameplay, the free flow combat gameplay, and the detective mode, because Batman's the world's greatest detective.
So talk to us about the free flow combat, because you rattled off some crazy figures in the demo and said people have had made their own custom combos of really outrageous numbers.
Yeah, I mean the core idea behind the free flow combat system is to make a combat system that the player feels like they are Batman. We want you to be able to take on loads of bad guys and kind of feel like you're not breaking a sweat. Obviously it becomes trickier and trickier as you play through the game. But we have, there's a number of moves, all controlled by the player. We have a custom animation system that blends between all these. Whatever you do basically creates kind of new combo moves. And obviously you unlock some as you play through the game. And as we showed you, it becomes pretty intense when you're fighting against large numbers of bad guys.
So the other portion of the demo focused on the Invisible Predator mode. You made it look very easy, but obviously it's probably not going to be quite that easy for folks when they're playing the game. So can you explain to us how that system's going to work?
Yeah, the Invisible Predator mode is really the core feeling of being Batman. We have bad guys that got guns. Batman is a superhero, but he's not, superhuman. If a guy unloads a shotgun in his face, it's going to hurt a bit, and he's got to try for that not to happen. So we really focused on the idea of, Batman being, or the bad guys in the room being scared of Batman. And like we showed you, you move up to a gargoyle, use that as a vantage point. We want you to feel like you're surveying the room, really picking on weak targets, and then really making everyone become more unnerved as you play. So you isolate your target, maybe you do an inverted takedown of the gargoyle, drag the guy up into the rafters, leave him hanging there. It kind of affects the morale of the other guys in the room, and they start looking for you, but they know you're there at this point. So then it kind of escalates in complexity because you're trying to take people out, but you're really studying what they're kind of doing in the room. We really want you to think like Batman.
Now, the other mode that we got to see was the detective mode. And while that seemed pretty straightforward, I would imagine that there are going to be some fairly complicated uses for it as you go into the game.
The detective mode is also, as we showed you, got the X-ray mode as part of it. So you use it to determine, where bad guys are, what kind of bad guys they are, their mental state, because you can check their heartbeats and see if they're nervous or scared, or if they're going to make mistakes, that kind of thing.
The final part of the demo showed off something that you referred to as hinting at the story. Now, I know you guys have been pretty vague about it, so what can you tell us about the story that maybe we haven't heard before? And if it's nothing new, what graphic novel should people read to prepare for the game?
Well, we don't want to go into great detail about the story because we really want to keep surprises for the players. But what I can say is Batman's returned Joker to Arkham Asylum. The Arkham Asylum is the home for the criminally insane. So pretty much over the 70 years, pretty much every bad guy has been in there. So it's kind of the worst place on earth for Batman to be. Joker breaks free, takes control of Arkham Asylum, and just spends the rest of the game tormenting Batman.
I set a trap, and you sprang it gloriously. Now let's get this party started!
Graphic novel-wise, they're all cool. We tend to, take Joker for example. We focus on a kind of darker version of the animated series, mixed with a bit of Killing Joke. We really just take all the best bits. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and we've been able to pull it all into the game.
All right, and so when can we look forward to the game, and on what platforms?
The game's out end of summer. It's on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC.
All right, well, there you go. Thank you, sir. That is your quick look at Batman Arkham Asylum. Look for a lot more at E3 and in the months to come.
I will break you, Batman! No, Bane. This time I break you!
It's Unit for True Game Heads, and I'm here with Paul from Rocksteady, and he's gonna give us the lowdown on Batman Arkham Asylum. Batman Arkham Asylum, sickest looking Batman game out right now. Can you tell us a little bit more about this one?
I can. We're really proud of Batman Arkham Asylum. We've worked really hard to make a game where you really feel like you are Batman. When your game starts, you're taking Joker back to Arkham Asylum. He breaks free because it's Joker after all. And then basically he subjects Batman to the worst night of his life. He just throws everyone at him. and that's their relationship, and it all kind of works really well for the game.
We know Batman's a fighter, but it seems like you've implemented a lot of his detective skills and stuff. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
Yeah, I can. I mean, we analyse what it means to be Batman. Batman's a fighter. Our combat system's great, but there's that cerebral aspect of Batman. He figures stuff out. We've got a detective mode where Batman can isolate forensic trails and follow them across the world, but he can also use it in combat situations or in invisible predator situations where you can switch to it and it'll show the x-rays of all the bad guys. It'll show their heartbeats, so you can tell whether Batman's actions are making them nervous or terrified even, and it builds up. Batman's really taking the fear back from the bad guys.
One of the things Batman is known for is a sick arsenal of gadgets. Can you tell us about some of those things he got at his disposal?
Yeah, well, Batman's got his batarangs, as you can actually see right behind you right now, and he's got grapnol gun. So, we want Batman to feel powerful. So straight off the bat, you walk around anywhere you think you can go to, one button press, you're there. The batarangs take down enemies. Each one can be upgraded. There are many gadgets, but we don't want to tell people about all of them because they're very much tied into things you need to do in the story. And we kind of work really hard to keep certain elements of the story a complete surprise, because like you play games these days and you know what's going to happen. There are many twists and turns in this one, and really they're going to be an absolute surprise to people.
Is this a completely original story for Batman?
Absolutely, we're not tied to any movie license. We've been lucky to work with DC, with Warner Brothers, with Paul Dini, who's the writer of the Batman animated series, and we've been able to craft a Batman storyline that is tied into all 70 years of the Batman universe. Take all the best bits that work best for a video game. We've tried to create a great Batman game, but we've also tried to create a fantastic game. Even if you don't like Batman, this will work for you. If you do like Batman, there's more stuff in this for you as a Bat fan than any other game that's ever been out.
One of the things that Batman's been known for is his rogues gallery of enemies. Can you tell us some of the guys that's going to be in there?
Yeah, absolutely. We've shown Poison Ivy, we've shown Bane. You've seen Joker, obviously. He's got Harley Quinn, like his girlfriend. Thing is, there are a few surprises, and if we spoiled it for you, A, we'd have to kill you, obviously, which is bad.
We don't want that.
Yeah, exactly. And B, we don't want that story spoiled for you, so it's all cool.
Understand you can play with Joker in a PlayStation version of the game. Can you explain how his campaign is?
Well, when you play as Joker, which is, like you say, is exclusive to PlayStation 3, you can get 8 downloadable maps on day one of the challenge maps. In the challenge maps, you can also play as Batman. They're really about allowing the player to prove themselves as Batman. Like in the game, you are Batman, but then in the challenge maps, it's like, how good a Batman are you? And Batman, he's the good guy, he plays by the rules, but then we let you play as Joker on the PlayStation 3. Joker doesn't play by the rules, he's leaping on people's backs, slapping them around the head, he's got a gun, explosive teeth, he's exactly what you'd expect from Joker. And we've been watching people playing it over the past few days, and everyone seems to be having a really good time playing with Joker.
We actually got Mark Hamill and Kevin Conroy, the voices from the animated series, to reprise their roles in this game. How was it working with those guys?
It's awesome. As a good example, when we first started with Mark, we got all the, I was there when we recorded it, we got the dialogue back in the game. We expanded Joker's role in the game because of how good he was. He's like the ultimate Joker voice. Kevin is the most authentic Batman voice you're gonna get.
He's the only Batman.
Exactly. And if you like the animated series, you're really gonna love this game.
Are there any other content that'll be downloadable for this game?
At the moment, we're just announcing the exclusive PlayStation 3, so I'm afraid we can't talk about anything else.
Oh man, not even a bat peek.
I'm afraid not. Again, we'd have to kill you.
Jeez, I don't want that, because then I won't be able to play the game. One last thing I wanted to know, because I'm really digging his design. What were some of the thoughts for coming up with his new design of his outfit?
Well, like I said, we worked really closely with Wildstorm, but we also, we're a very realistic Batman game. We want you to feel like you're Batman. So, everything about it is functional and also kind of believable if it existed. It's not the movie suit. It's closer to the classic Batman suit, but with a few extra bells and whistles to make it, more contemporary.
Sounds good. And I know I said one more thing, but one last thing: the Batmobile. Does it play a role in this version of the game?
Well, Batman arrives on Arkham Island in the Batmobile, but really it's about what happens to Batman on the island.
could you set the stage for Arkham Asylum? What's Batman up to?
Well, when the game starts, Batman's returning Joker back to Arkham Asylum. For people who don't know, Arkham Asylum is the home for the criminally insane in Gotham City. It's kind of where everybody Batman has ever faced in his career as Batman has been at one point or another. Joker's broken free, Batman's brought him back, and then unfortunately for Batman, Joker escapes again, and it's kind of like what would happen if the Madman takes over the asylum. One of the great things about this project is that we've been able to draw on the full 70 years of the Batman brand, the Batman universe. And we've been able to take exactly the bits that we needed to make the best game. So, I mean, we've been really lucky working with DC, with Warner Brothers, with Paul Dini, who, as people know, is behind the Batman animated series. That, of course, led to us having like Mark Hamill or Kevin Conroy back as the voices, and you know, it's just been really, really a great partnership between everyone.
But you didn't choose to pick one comic or one style of Batman for your game. You give it your own spin.
No, I mean the great thing about Batman is, you know, people like him on many different levels, and there are many different interpretations of the character, and we've just again chosen what works best for the game. I mean, our best example is Joker, who obviously is voiced by Mark Hamill, which is kind of obviously he did the animated series, but we then fused it a little bit with the Killing Joke Joker, so that, you know, we got this really darker character, because the game is darker than the animated series. So, you know, we just take the best bits in order to deliver the player the best Batman experience that they're ever going to play.
What's going on right now? It's the Joker.
Yeah, sorry, this is the bit just after Joker's escape. So as you can see, he's welcoming Batman to the madhouse, and then he's Harley Quinn's got hold of the security codes for the asylum. She's releasing the bad guys. They're all members of Joker's gang. They've been moved from Blackgate Prison into this area. And this is one of the early kind of combat tutorials, really. It's just kind of showing how, you know, Batman finds it incredibly easy to take on a bunch of low-life thugs. You know, one of our design decisions is to make Batman always feel powerful, always feel like Batman, make the player always be Batman. So, you know, what we have here is the free flow combat system, showing how you can chain moves together and, you know, and take guys out with relative ease. The combat system basically allows you to chain together different attacks to create your own combos. So you've got your basic strike, which you're moving and targeting new enemies. And obviously, as I say, you're able to counter incoming attacks, and then from there you can move into takedowns, which you'll see hopefully, or maybe not.
Bit of a stylish finish there.
Yeah. Well, again, it's about making Batman look cool, making, you know, that kind of wish fulfillment element of being Batman. Right, this is switching into Batman's detective mode. It's another key element of what it's like to be Batman. Obviously, you can see we're displaying the skeletons of the thugs. On top of that, when they're actually conscious, you can see their heart rates, and you can tell whether they're nervous, scared of Batman. Because Batman's a scary guy, you know. He appears in the shadows, takes people out. And it also helps as a kind of tutorial aspect and just a general help system for the player.
Can you tell us about any of the other gadgets that Batman has?
Well, one of the two initial gadgets you kind of have is your grapnel gun, which enables Batman to grapple up to places normal guys can't get to. And again, we don't limit that. We want you to feel like Batman, so straight away you can, you know, be Batman, I guess is the best way of looking at it. We also have batarangs, which and other things that you will get across the course of the game, which we don't want to talk about because we're trying to keep things as a surprise. But then everything's also upgradable, and you know, it just all works really well.
We're playing on the PlayStation 3 here. I understand that Joker will be playable exclusively on the PlayStation 3. Could you tell us something about that?
Well, yeah, Joker is exclusively playable on the PlayStation 3. What you get is the ability to play as Joker in the challenge maps. But it's not just like a new skin for Batman. We've got a full set of animations for making you feel like Joker. Batman's got certain rules he plays by. You know, he's the good guy. Joker's not the good guy. So it's a very nice contrast, and obviously it's what people really want to do. See what it's like to be Joker.
It's over, Joker. Over? Why, my dear delusional Dark Knight, it hasn't even begun.
All right, well, we are here in the Warner Brothers booth with Sefton Hill, one of the developers on the awesome game, Batman Arkham Asylum. How long have you guys been working on this?
I've been working on Batman Arkham Asylum for 2 years now. So quite a while before anyone even got to see it. So that was quite nice because we could stay under the radar, you know, really get the vision of Batman that we wanted and then reveal it to the world.
Right. The Joker.
Yeah.
How different does he actually fight? And I mean, what measures did you guys go through to actually make him more recognizable when you play him? And you know, just because he's so small and usually in the comics, he's always got all of his minions doing all the fighting for him.
Yeah. I mean, the Joker as a character, you know, he is an unusually kind of agile and nasty fighter anyway. Like, he can handle himself in fights, you know, when him and Batman end up going one-on-one, he sometimes gets the odd blow in, but obviously Batman will take him down relatively easily. But yeah, he's a nasty fighter, he's a dirty fighter, you know, he'll kick people in the nuts, he'll grab him in the head, rip off the mask and poke him in the eyes. He doesn't care, you know, anything to win. So, you know, he has a gun as well, obviously. He's kind of the antithesis of Batman, you know, so he can combo in the gun when he fights as well. So, yeah, I mean, you know, Joker, he's such an iconic character, you really want to play him, so obviously you can on PS3.
PS3, yo! So, Unreal Engine?
Yeah.
Is this like the new version of Unreal Engine, or did you guys actually do all the work on it yourselves, or...?
I mean, this is the latest version of the Unreal Engine. We take all the updates, but there's a lot of custom stuff in there as well, custom AI, custom animation. So there's a lot of custom Batman stuff running underneath as well. So, you know, combat engine, all of those things are unique to Batman as well. So the core engine is Unreal, but there's a lot of unique stuff for us as well in there.
So are there any other villains that we can talk about? I mean, we've seen Harley Quinn, we've seen Killer Croc, we've seen, well, of course, Joker. Who else is in the game that you can talk about?
Bane, we've seen Zaz, Poison Ivy as well, we've recently announced. So, yeah, there are a couple more surprises in there, but, you know, we're kind of... we really want to like keep some surprises for the story because we're not really telling a lot about the story because, you know, we worked really hard on the story to deliver a very game-centric story, working with Paul Dini. So we're sort of trying to show the gameplay, let people get in and see that the gameplay is really solid and great fun. But we don't want to ruin the story for people because, you know, we want you to play it and we don't want to give all the spoilers away, you know?
You gotta have some surprises.
Exactly, yeah, there are some big surprises left in there, trust me.
Nice.
Really big surprises.
How closely did you guys work with DC on this? I mean, was it like hand in hand?
We worked very closely with them right from the start. We met up with them and Paul Dini when we went through the story and also talked about a lot of what they like about Batman as the character, you know, and the universe, rather than the game specifically, just more, you know, tell us about the Batman that you love, you know, we know about the Batman that we love, and we, all the time we wanted the game to be a celebration of Batman, you know, we wanted it to be a celebration of how we all really love Batman the character. So, you know, that was what drove us, and DC and Warner have been great, giving us lots of support and, you know, really backed our vision all the way through, so it's been great working with those guys.
So, did you guys have it pretty much locked in right away, or did it take a long time to get the voice actors from the animated series, Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill and everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, we were working with Paul Dini, obviously, and he's good friends with those guys, so that helps a bit. We always knew we wanted to go for those guys, you know. Joker is such a great character, and Mark does such a great performance throughout the game, and he's tormenting you, but he's charismatic and he's making you laugh at the same time, and it's such a difficult line to walk, and I think he walks it brilliantly.
Yeah.
And Kevin Conroy on the flip side, you know, being kind of the, you know, the yin to the yang, you know, being calm and in control, and the introvert's Joker's extrovert, you know, so the two of them play off each other really well. Yeah, so we knew we always wanted those guys. Gives it that authentic feel, you know, like it's a little bit darker maybe than you've seen in the animated series, obviously Joker, a little bit nastier, you know, Mark plays him a little bit darker than you've seen before, but, you know, if you're familiar with the Joker, you know,
well, first off, are you guys allowed to, like, say how many hours of gameplay you think we're going to get out of this, out of the main story, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, obviously it depends on different skill levels and stuff like that, but it, you know, it's a good solid 12 to 15 hours in the main story, so it's not a short game by any means. It's a good solid story, and that's if you're playing through. And then on top of that, if you're going back and looking for all the secrets, you're looking at, you know, another 5 hours as you're looking to kind of collect the secrets in the game, and then the challenge maps on top of that, maybe another 6 to 10 hours. So it's a big game. You know, there's a lot to play in there. We've been working on it for a lot while. There's a lot of custom content in there.
So besides the Joker, are there really any differences between the two versions?
Not really. No. I mean, you know, I think some people say, you know, the Unreal Engine, you know, you tend to see games that don't look as good on PS3 as Xbox. I think the truth is that they're just two different systems, and you need to do what's best for one than the other. You know, like the PS3 is definitely better at some things, and the Xbox is better at other things. But, you know, there's no difference between the two. You can see the two running here, and there is no difference. You know, you just have to do the things to get the best out of both systems, which is what we've done. So, you know, there's no difference between the systems.
Did we get a release date yet?
Yeah, release date August 25th in the US and August 28th in Europe.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time. Thanks a lot. I want this game.
Yeah, we had lots of ideas. I mean, I think mainly because, you know, where the great thing about the license that we have is it is the comic book license. So we have 70 years of history to plug into, and that's amazing for us, you know. And right at the start, we knew we were going to write a story specifically for Batman, for the Batman Arkham Asylum, and that's great because games have a very different kind of narrative thread to any other medium, I think, you know, where you have this kind of 12 to 15 hour story, and you need an arc that really represents that, which has these hourly kind of crescendos that you're always pushing towards. And if you take a film and kind of try and film story and sort of stretch it over that, it's going to snap. So it was great to be able to make a story working with Paul Dini that, you know, especially for the game, and that gave, I think, the whole thing a unique experience. And then on top of that, obviously, you know, we had loads of ideas for things we could do with Batman, because there's so many facets to this character, which I think that was the big challenge for us, really, because there's all these elements of who he is, and we, you know, we said to ourselves right at the start, like, if we're going to do this, we've got to do it properly, so we can't leave anything out.
And when did the voice actors come into play? Did you always know you wanted them?
I mean, we always knew we wanted them, for sure, you know. Wanting them and getting them is always a slightly different thing. We had a sort of little joker to play, so to speak, in terms of Paul Dini, because obviously he knows Mark and Kevin so well. So, and Paul was on right from the start of the project. So when we knew that there was the possibility of getting those guys on board, that was kind of the simplest decision of the whole project. You know, let's get those guys in, definitely.
There's no escape, Joker. I will find you.
Well, I've been doing the voice of Batman since 1991, and I just went in on a cold audition and lucked out. It was the first animated character I ever auditioned for, and just had the right take on the character, and so the producers bought it, and it was for Batman the Animated Series, and that evolved into the Adventures of Batman and Robin, and then the Justice League, and then Batman Beyond. And then in the interim, there were various animated movies that were done, and now the game. It's definitely a lot more than just a job. It's like kind of like working on the Statue of Liberty. I mean, it's such an iconic American character, and everyone who grew up with Batman has their own impressions that they've imposed on the character. You know, they have their own take on Batman, and he means something to each kid individually, and each kid becomes an adult, you know, so everyone has their unique personal experience with Batman. So when you're the voice of the character, people kind of invest that experience in you. You know, they project it onto you. The process of working on the games is much more complicated than doing an episode or doing a movie. For one thing, Warner really likes to always have the cast together, doing recordings for the TV shows or the movies. So they're done like radio plays. We're all in a studio together, and there's a great spirit in the room. It's a lot of give and take and feeding off the other actors. Well, these games, when you do them, it's a very different experience because you're alone, essentially, in a booth for 8 hours a day. It's 4-hour sessions, 2 4-hour sessions a day. Imagine that, and doing just line after line after line after line, and you have to feed yourself to keep the energy up and to keep it spontaneous. It's very, very difficult. At the end of the day, I am just wiped. You really are just completely wrung out.
Now, once word got out, you know, the fan community is a very vocal one, and I'm just wondering if as development progressed and more noise was made about the game as people heard about it, did you guys start to get nervous?
Yeah, I think it's kind of a strange thing because we're on it all the time. You kind of get a bit tunnel vision, so it's kind of good in a way because, I think if you're going to make something that you want other people to be passionate about, you need to be passionate about it yourself and really believe in your vision. So, we were aware, obviously it's Batman, it's huge, but at the same time we wanted to sort of stay focused on this vision that we had for Batman. So yeah, but I think when you're on it every day, it allows you to have that focus.
Now, looking at the gameplay and having played it myself, I'm just curious, where did you guys feel were the gaps that you needed to fill in, given all the previous Batman games and what they were able to kind of encapsulate of the character?
I think one of the things we really wanted to push was the detective element of Batman, because he is the world's greatest detective. So we felt that was an element that we could really push and do something new with, and not just in terms of just the forensics element, but also getting the player to think like Batman. So the kind of invisible predator element of the game, where you're sort of tracking down and picking off the thugs. You're using detective mode to study them and to figure out where they're going. And I think the rewarding thing for me is that when I watch people play, I always get the same feedback, is that it's the more I think like Batman, the more successful I am in the game. And that's what we really wanted you to do, is kind of get this experience of what is it like to be Batman. That was kind of big driving force for us.
I can take it. I can take anything you throw at me, Bats. Ready for the next round? Take the key to the croc.
Batman Arkham Asylum coming out on August the 25th on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360 and PC.
There's a explain the merits of Robin argument going on. Brian seems to be the only one defending Robin. I'm just watching myself.
Robin's not in it.
Robin's not in the game, no.
Then it's a great game.
Is there a reason why Robin was left out specifically?
Yeah, I think that at the start when we broke down the key elements of Batman that we wanted to include, the great thing about Batman is that he is such a multifaceted character. But if you want to do all of those elements justice, we kind of felt that there were certain things we couldn't do as well as that. So if you bring Robin in, obviously then you have to bring in the elements of Robin. So we kind of focused on, these are the main things we want to do for Batman. We want to focus on the kind of this martial arts, this master of the martial arts. We want to focus on the invisible predator. We want to focus on the world's greatest detective, because there's an element of the game that's not really been done before. On his amazing gadgets, on the kind of psychological drive of Batman, because that's another thing that's really missed out quite a lot when you look at any medium really, like obviously the comics really mainly, and then the new film started to really get that kind of psychological drive and element of Batman, and we really wanted to get that in the game as well. And then you've got obviously the other characters, the antagonists, they're fascinating, his relationship with those characters, and that I think is one of the key things with Batman, is that he's driven in a way that other superheroes kind of aren't. That psychological relationship is what really fascinated us. The whole game really is about Batman's relationship with the Joker and what drives the two of them on, rather than just, I think a lot of superheroes are maybe about blowing up buildings, or they're about, it's about spectacle, and Batman is kind of much more personal. I think that's what's fascinating about him as a character and why he sort of resonates with people. So we sort of added all that up, and then could we fit Robin in as well? No. So it's sort of, yeah.
Going back to the detective, the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
Does that mean there's sort of like elements of like problem solving, puzzles, and detection that's in the game?
Yeah, definitely. There are a number of things that are in the game. There's forensics trials and scanning in evidence from different areas as well. So when you're sort of following people, you've got a guy at the start who, I don't want to give too much away, but there's a guy at the start who's kind of drinking from a hip flask, and you can trace the alcohol in his breath after him. Yeah. It's only a minor one, it's quite early on. So that was a big element of the game. And also it does extend to the puzzle solving as well, and also when you're doing things like when you're tracking down the thugs in a room as well, you use detective mode, and it sort of tracks their heart rate and how nervous they are, and that allows you to make decisions on how you take them down as well. So it allows you to focus on particular people and alter your tactics, which is really kind of important. So like detective for us, it means detective as in like the traditional, but it also means thinking smart, thinking like Batman as well.
And then there's also ass kicking to be done too, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of ass kicking to be done. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we wanted to do something slightly different for the game because it was, you get a lot of really complicated combat systems where you've got to learn sort of 20 button presses in a particular way. And we really felt like that was, and also with the game, because you're doing combat in kind of a staccato fashion, so you'll play combat, but then you'll do some detective work, and then you'll do some adventuring, and then you'll do some navigation. So we wanted a system that was quite simple to learn, but had a lot of depth as well. So the main buttons for the free flow combat are quite simple. You have strike, counter, stun, and dodge. And then you can throw in other things like the gadgets, like batarangs and backcrawls. So you've got a number of different things you can mix in, but the buttons are all very simple. And the real skill in the game is learning how to mix those buttons up, and put that together. That's the real kind of skill, is can you get that, So you'll see, and if you guys go and play the game, you can get some combos, and early on it's quite easy to beat up 5 or 6 guys, but some of the QA guys on the game, they can get like 150, 160 hit combos, so there's a lot of depth to the game when you play it as well, so accessible, but it has a lot of depth.
How do you feel working on? I think everybody does that. How do you feel working on a game? I found it more effective to work with this. Okay, so there's never been a good Batman game before this, and so
no comment.
Stigma behind it. Did you feel like working on this was sort of an uphill battle to convince people that this one's going to be good?
I mean, I guess a number of people sort of have said that. How can I word that answer? Yeah, so, but I mean, for us it was sort of, because we're on it every day and we've kind of worked on the game for sort of about 26 months now, you sort of kind of start to sort of filter that out, it's what you're doing every day, so you kind of have a vision that you want to stick to, you're not so sort of outside influence like that, kind of doesn't really affect things, and we kind of always wanted to make it a real celebration of Batman, the celebration of the Batman that we really love. That was really important to us. So I think we sort of deliberately don't look at older games. I mean, for me as the director, I sort of would say let's not look at those older games, because I think what you can kind of get a bit of a bum steer off them. You can kind of get pushed in directions that you don't want to go. If you're trying to avoid things that they've done, sometimes the things that they've done haven't worked for reasons which they could be successful again, so kind of we don't, I think that to answer your question, it wasn't something that really affected the way that we worked. We just thought right from the start, we're going to get all these elements in, and that's going to be our vision of Batman. We're going to be really passionate about it, and we hope that people are passionate about it too when they get to play it.
I know that Kevin was also the Batman movie. And I think what is the project? I mean, what were your inspirations in terms of what did you get? Toward the end, it was getting more and more confused and more.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the fantastic thing for us is that the license is the comic book license, so there's 70 years of Batman history that we could really tap into. So I think the Batman that we love, well, you can kind of see in the game, it is a bit darker. I mean, that's, everyone sort of, I think, has part of Batman which they really enjoy, and obviously it appeals to kind of a younger audience through a lot of, the gadgets and, the cool cars and stuff. And also, I guess, the older audience through the gadgets and the cool cars, but then also kind of a psychological edge and angle to the character. So I think that we obviously have quite a dark take on Batman. We really enjoy stuff like the Frank Miller, classic Frank Miller comics, Serious House on Serious Earth, in terms of kind of tonality as well, very kind of dark and twisted. And they really represent as well, like I said before, this kind of psychological torment, it was kind of those things added together, but there was lots of different influences from different areas, it wasn't just, okay, it's this comics, it was kind of really our interpretation of all those things put together.
Were discarded for whatever reason. Because they
yeah.
What does Harley look like in the game?
She looks very different. She kind of, the idea that we had as her, what would she do if she's trapped in the asylum? How would she kind of pimp up her own outfit? So it was sort of, maybe she doesn't have access fully to what her normal outfit, so she's going to try and create this own look for herself by taking what she's got and using different things in the asylum to kind of put it together to create this unique style. So it was a character that we pushed a little bit more. We kind of wanted her to have a feel that obviously felt consistent with the other characters in the game as well, and with our kind of very realistic sort of styled universe. But we wanted to be very authentic as well, so we worked very closely with Paul as well on Harley Quinn, and we showed her like the concepts that we had working with Wildstorm, Jim Lee's Wildstorm as well, on the concepts, and we constantly went back to Paul and said, is this okay? Because obviously as the kind of co-creator of Harley Quinn, we wanted, are you happy with this? So it certainly wasn't a decision we took lightly, but it was something that we really felt that to sort of have a kind of consistency of tone with the rest of the game, we needed to sort of change her outfit a little bit. And she has a lot of things that she takes from, so she walks around with a cane that she steals off the Warden, because she kind of takes on the role of the Warden, and she wears his name badge as well. So she's sort of kind of just, she's making her own sort of cheeky outfit, which was what we felt that she would do in the circumstances. Yeah, I mean, a little bit. I think Harley's probably the biggest one, the biggest change. Harley's probably the one that we changed the most. And I mean, I think that Scarecrow recently revealed, like a couple of days ago, he kind of looks a bit different as well. Very, very evil, our Scarecrow, very nasty. I think who else really? I think those are probably the two that had the biggest changes. I think Joker we wanted to keep very kind of authentic. Batman I think was interesting as well, because we wanted to kind of keep him, in fact we wanted to realise him in like his proper kind of big pinnacle of masculinity form, rather than the sort of toned down maybe you see in the films. Obviously they can't use kind of the real Batman because they've got to use an actor, but we can beef him up to how he really is in the kind of Jim Lee sort of much tougher, stronger Batman that as he really is, in the comics, it's like he is a big guy, he's at the peak of physical perfection. So.
Just a video and when you write the character, it's not the same Batman you're talking about. This character is that exactly when you write the same Batman.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're always there was nothing specifically that we picked, but you're always inspired by the stuff that sort of inspires you. So I love games like Metroid and Zelda, games where you really feel like you're going on an epic journey, and we really wanted that feeling for Batman, that you're doing this epic journey that you're going on.